Welcome to another episode of the Alphawaves podcast. The place for well-being and becoming an expert of your own life.
Correct.
And a whole lot of culture.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't forget the culture.
There we go. Exactly.
In the building, you have your hosts,
Kam
and Darren. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent.
I think we should, and if you've got one, have you got a well-being tip?
I do have a well-being tip.
Okay.
I do. So I've been doing this a couple times now. The weather's been getting nicer. But the first thing I do every day now, whatever time I get up, which has been pretty early to be fair, is I'll sit outside and just have a cup of tea and journal and soak in the sunshine. Because I've noticed there's only sunshine in the beginning of the day, but it's there and then it goes.
At the minute, yeah.
And it might come back around at different points, and it's not exactly warm, so I will have like tea and a blanket or whatever, but it's just such a nice way to start the day.
So with this being a tip here, what would you say the benefits of this is?
Excellent question. So for me, one is that it I think we spoke about this before in quite a few episodes ago, but it sets your circadian rhythms for the day to get that sunshine first thing. But for me, mentally, it's just so nice. Like, it's really peaceful. You can feel the sun on your face and you're just like writing words of gratitude. And I didn't even intend to do that, like to sit down and write a gratitude list, but you just feel so good and you can hear birds singing and you're having tea. And it's just nice to start your day like that instead of just having tea at your desk or indoors.
Yeah.
It's just nice.
Weather permitted, obviously.
Weather permitted, yeah. And if you have a place to stay outside, then it's nice, yeah.
Fair. I think that's a good tip.
Me too.
I remember being on holiday and drinking my hot drinks outside in the sun first thing in the morning.
It's nice, isn't it?
But I wasn't just sure if that was just a holiday thing, you know, like it made me feel good.
It does, yeah.
I was on holiday anyway, so I think I would have felt good
regardless. You felt good either way. Exactly. But it's just nice because you're already like in a weird way outside without having to do outside things, like making the effort of going on a walk or something. And then there's things that you want to do before that to go on the walk. So it just prolongs the time. Yeah. So it's nice to just be outdoors first thing and it feels like you've done something. Nice one. So Thank that you. Is the Alphawaves well-being tip of the week, I guess. Yeah, it is. Yeah, cool. Just a light one this week.
Something easy to do.
Yeah, as per, because well-being is easy.
Good point, my dear friend.
Oh, you called me your enemy 2 minutes ago.
Keep
that
them
was
on your
so
toes,
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. You're just mind games. We're doing the villain era again.
I mean, the less said, the better. All right, cool. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Moving on.
Another thing for you.
Yeah.
And that is our question of the week.
Okay.
Yeah. So someone DM'd us this week with a wonderful question. And I'm going to try rephrase it.
Before you get into that.
Okay.
Message us on Alphawaves podcast or at Alphawaves _ with any of your messages and we'll endeavour to do our best.
Who are you today? I'm telling you, wear a sweater one time. I thought we were doing casual pod days, but no, those days are gone, clearly.
Okay, that's enough for me. Proceed.
Anyway, so this dilemma, well, not really a dilemma, a question. Yeah, a question. So this guy, he's 22 years old. He's been working at this workplace for a minute, not too long. And he's 22, so he's unsure if he really wants his career to go down the route in this workplace.
Okay.
But he's career minded. Like, that's where his head's at. He wants to, still have his fun, but move seriously in life. Yeah. So a new person joined his team. They're 29 years old. And he was really excited because he kind of had that feeling of like, okay, there's someone I can look up to or learn from, someone who's experienced. And, this guy's joined at the same level. So as they've gotten to know each other, he's slowly realizing that this guy is not super serious. Doesn't have 29 energy. Like he's jumping around with jobs, and he's really more concerned about things that this guy, the guy with the question, is trying to come out of. So things like going out and talking to girls and partying and having fun and just this lighthearted attitude towards life. So his question was, and I guess it's more towards you as a man, but he was like, do you ever grow out of that you know, free-spirited need that you have? Because he's getting worried.
That never leaves you.
Yeah, like he's like, does that itch ever get scratched?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's his question.
Interesting. Thank you for the question, first of all.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I find it so interesting for many reasons. Like, because I'm a big advocate of, it's not about your age, it's about the stage that you're at in life, right?
Stage, not age. I love that.
However, that comes with a few nuances.
Go on.
Number one, it depends on, first of all, your responsibilities. Number two, age. As much as I don't attribute a lot of stuff to age, I feel like career, not that you need to be in your career path by a certain age, but you've got to have, in my opinion anyway, you've got to have an idea.
Yeah.
An idea. Not that this idea doesn't even have to stick. You could just be trying a few things, but you've got to have an idea. You can't just float around. And third thing is, to answer the main question, I don't think it ever leaves you, but
really,
you have to learn how to master it.
Not gonna lie.
I don't think it ever leaves you, but you just learn to master it.
I agree, you know, I don't think it ever leaves you, because going out and not talking to guys, whatever, like, you know, your wants change and my wants have changed, although it is fun, but like you do enjoy it when you're out. But I think for me, where I'm at now, I enjoy it more because it's not regular. I don't think I could be going out the way that I used to. Yeah. It just feels hollow.
Is that because of the feeling that you get, or your energy is just not as invested into that anymore?
It's everything, you know, it's everything. Like your priorities change, your direction changes. You realize, if I was to continue doing that, I would feel like I'm wasting my time, you know. I can't tell you when the last time a Friday night felt like a Friday night to me. Like it would be Friday and I haven't even realized. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm just
in the traditional sense of a Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. Like a big night out. Whereas before, that's your favorite day of the week. You know, like you're looking forward to it. You've already got several plans for it and you're out. Yeah. And I don't know when the last time I've done that, you know. There's been so many times I'm just like, oh, life is so different. Like I'm just chilling on a Friday and it feels good, you know? Yeah. So your energy levels do change, I guess, and your priorities and what you want. Because you are thinking now, being in your 30s, like, what do I want to have built by my 40s? So it's different. And that's why I like what you said about stage, not age, because you might be in the beginning of what you're building at that time, but the point is your mind is there. Yeah. But, so yeah, it doesn't leave you, because at the same time, if I'm out, I'm out. Literally. Like,
I don't think you should be restricted just because of your age, but yeah, like I said, it comes with a few exceptions. How do you feel about somebody looking up to someone that they don't really have the full picture of in general anyway?
I don't think it's fair, you know, because I'm at that stage now where people supposedly look up to me and I'm like, don't do it. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still figuring it out. And I think when you're young, you have this, or younger, you have this naivety in your head that magically things click when you're older. Yeah. But what you don't realize is, as you're growing, so much more is growing. Like there's so much more that you're learning and doing. It doesn't actually stop or ease. It just changes. Like you're learning more things. It never really stops. So I think it's quite unfair for younger people to pin so much on people who are older than them, especially not that much older, you know?
Yeah.
Old
Plus-
enough, but not super older, you know? Like this older guy isn't in his 40s. So there has to be some level of like it makes me feel sad to think that people just look at you as a failure or a success based on your age
And where you are,
alone.
yeah.
And not knowing where you're at the same time though, I don't know, at the same time, just thinking about if I was talking to someone and if they were just on going out all the time, and I don't know how I'd feel about that. I don't think we'd be talking because I haven't spoken to someone like that in a minute, so I don't know.
But that's because of where you are in life now, though.
True.
If you was on the same thing.
True, you know, because I actually do know people who are 29, as in like I've just met them, you know, and they're doing kind of like in-betweenish jobs and not really sure what they're doing next. And I think if that's someone's life, then that's just someone's life. They just want different things.
Yeah. It's tricky. It's very tricky. But again, without knowing the full picture of the person, it's hard to get a real understanding.
True. And you know what? This actually reminds me of when I was in a similar position. So when I was working before and I was talking to this older lady, and she was older as in like 50s maybe, something like that. And she just seemed really fun and free and cool at first. And I was like younger than I am now, so more like mid-20s. And then she was talking about relationships and guys and flying off the handle and this, that, and the other, and acting crazy and screaming at people and blah, blah, blah. And I was just looking at her, and her whole approach to dating and guys and going out and stuff like that. It's not that I was judging her, but I was looking at her in horror because I was like, if I don't change my ways,
That's what you could become.
that's what you could become. Yeah.
Like, obviously, I don't know the perspective of this young gentleman that's
I just don't know where you think you are today, like some conference or.
Oh, that's so funny. I can't speak to his mind state yet.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that if I put myself in that position, because I actually let me go back to and focusing on myself. When I was a younger person and there was someone older, it's a bit different because I had an older brother. But whenever I was like around people in workspaces or any field that I was interested in, and there was somebody older, I would only attribute myself to someone that I could see a bit of like similarities with, so like personalities, etc. So if this youngster is looking at you've done it again. If this younger person is looking
How are you
at
just reading about it? I don't even feel like it's changing. Yeah.
is looking at someone that's a bit older than them and
Yeah.
asking this question, I think it's safe to assume that they see similarities either within themselves or the people around them.
Yeah.
So it can be scary as a younger person to look at someone older and think, if I don't fix up, this is what my life's going to become. But you have to realize that their life and their path doesn't necessarily mirror yours just because they got a similar personality.
So true. Because once I got to know that old lady, the older women better.
I'm being ultra respectful, calling people gentlemen, and you're saying old lady.
Apologies.
No, I'm messing around.
Once this
The roles really
elderly
reversed
lady, once I got to know her better and learn more about her life and stuff like that, I could see why certain circumstances did that for her. And even like one of my friends, for example, like when we were in our 20s and a bit more wilder, they were more focused on career. And so now that they're approaching their 30s, they're a bit more on going out, you know, and having that kind of, not exactly like that, but having more fun. Like that's become more of a priority for them. So again, it's like stage, not age. Like people experience things at different times. Maybe
true.
this guy, this 29-year-old had heavy responsibilities in their early 20s and feels like they've missed out on something.
That plays a big part.
Yeah.
That plays a very big part.
A huge part. Like I'm really glad I did it the other way.
Yeah.
But if I did it the other way, I might feel the same, because then wherefore the younger person, they've been experiencing these things and they're still in it, that might be fresh for the 29-year-old.
Yeah.
And 29 isn't too old. Like, you can still go out and have fun and all those kinds of things. And, you know, how are you supposed to find a girl if you're not putting yourself out there?
100%. That's the thing as well. There's a stigma of like, let me focus in on that point that you just made. Like, oh yeah, he's talking to so many different girls and that's his focus, etc., etc. But let's just say, for whatever instance, if that guy is seeking companionship, he might be doing the bravado thing, but secretly at home, he might just literally be lonely and just be like, this is how he...
Or it might be his dating approach. Like, I think a good approach is to date, you know, around, not sleep around necessarily, unless you want to, and that can be fun too. Yeah, to each their own. I'm going off topic, but you can date several people at once. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it can be quite healthy, actually, depending on who you are.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not even going to divulge right now because that sounds like an interesting topic for another day.
Yeah. I think so. Why not?
Definitely.
May the best candidate win. You know what I'm saying? So
fair. Swiftly moving on.
It depends on where you're at with the dating. Do you know what I mean? Like how far you're going with someone. But
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you.
Or maybe even then, you know, why not?
One question off the back of his question. At 21, 22, 23, is there anything at that stage, if you can think back, not that it was that long ago, but if you could think back to if you could think back to that time in your life, is there anything that you saw in somebody that you thought, well, you just mentioned it, that lady, that you didn't want to become, but you still do now, but in a more controlled manner?
What do you mean?
So, like, for instance, let me think of an example. Cool. Myself, even as a younger person, let's say I'm trying to think of something that I'd done that I wanted to stop. Let's just use something like drinking, let's say, for instance, yeah? Or smoking, whatever. At that time, it was a bit more frivolous and reckless and just as and whenever, partying every week, etc., etc. And then, like, I might have thought to myself, yeah, when I get to a certain age, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, completely teetotal. Then you get to a certain age.
Do you ever think you get teetotal with anything?
Some people can. Like, then you get to a certain age and you think, oh, I can do it. I just do it with more control.
Oh, I hear you.
Do you get what I'm asking?
I hear you now.
So it's like,
yeah.
There's stuff that you thought you had to cut out just because of your age, etc. But when you get to that age, you realize, oh, I can still do it. I just got to be a bit more controlled about it.
Different, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like, there's so many things that I was like, oh my God, I'm taking on. I can't keep doing this, blah, blah, blah. But the question was really, can I keep doing this way?
Same way,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the answer is no.
Literally.
But I believe that. I think that's what I mean. Like, when you're 22, 23, you have all these ideas of what being older is like, you know? And then when you get there and you're on your way there, it's just different. It's 100%. So different. Like, you change within yourself. I know so many people who thought that they would completely stop doing a certain thing by a certain age. And then when they got to that age, they still do it. And it's not a bad thing. They just change how they do it. Like, they've move their lifestyle around it. So yeah, I think that is possible. That's why it's so silly to me, and it's natural, but it is silly to judge because you don't even know what your path is going to be. Really, there's 100%. A lot you can't control.
100%.
So you just gotta be, when you're interacting with people, just think about more of what you want. And to that young man who sent that DM, I would say, like, if you're seeing this guy and his lifestyle and it's making you worried, then there's something in you that's saying that you do not want to be doing that when you're that age. And that's all you need to know. And one thing I'd say as well is, I think it's so easy that when you're around someone who's older than you to automatically lean into them, as in looking for a mentor. Yeah. But that's not what you should be going by. Your mentors should be people who are doing exactly what it is that you want to be doing at that time. because your mentor could actually be someone who's the same age as you, but just further along with
Yeah.
where they're at,
Yeah.
or even younger. They just started earlier.
Very true. Very true. Do you believe in getting things out of your system?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
of course.
Cool. Yeah, so
Do you?
yeah, I do. I do. 100%. Yeah, 100%.
As long as you're not betraying anyone or like doing anything that could harm someone else, then I think you should get things out your system.
The biggest thing that I got out of my system was buying an expensive car very young. I got that feeling out of my system of like, yeah,
That's such a guy thing.
yeah, that was like such a, and I kind of got forced into that situation. I didn't get forced into it, but ego pushed me in that situation.
So you forced yourself.
Yeah,
into
yeah,
I
pretty
was like, what do you mean someone forced you?
Pretty much. My ego forced me into that situation.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm glad I got that out of my system early, because now I'm at a stage where I like cars. Nice cars is nice cars, but I don't pin so much on it. Like, I need to get this.
Because you're young, and I feel like there's certain things that hit better then, you know. So it is important to get it out of your system.
Yeah. So yeah, fair. So yeah, don't worry too much. Don't take on somebody's life as your own.
Yeah.
Look at them and learn from it, if anything. But again, you don't know their journey. You don't know what your journey will be. There's a lot of external factors in life that you can't account for that could have you in a place at a certain time where you don't expect to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, just enjoy the journey, I say.
Yeah, enjoy the journey and try not to, although it's so easy to like judge people, but I really try to remind myself in those moments that life is meant to be experienced in so many different ways. So if someone's experiencing it differently and you don't want to do that, don't judge too hard, because at 29 you might be doing that to learn firsthand what it's like. So be really careful with that energy.
100%. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you again for the message.
Yes.
Keep your messages
Much
coming in.
appreciated.
And yeah, we'll
endeavour to get back to you.
I wasn't going to say it this time. I was thinking of an alternative word.
Tackle, we'll get down to the nitty gritty.
I was trying to think of another smart word, but it didn't come quick enough. Float quick enough, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, cool.
Oh, yeah.
On to other matters arising.
You're so annoying today. You're actually just... But yes, on to other matters on the agenda.
Our topic.
Yeah, our topic.
For the day.
Yeah, so we got a couple topics, and the first one...
Something you wanted to speak on?
I absolutely do, which is forgiveness, but being too forgiving.
Right.
So initial thoughts?
What do you mean by being too forgiving?
Oh, okay. So back to my initial. All right.
Let's fire that one straight
See what
back.
you did there. Well, just to break the ice, like, do you think there's such a thing as being too forgiving?
Yes and no. So I was actually, interestingly enough, having this conversation with someone a few days ago, actually.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so we was talking in general, and
That's
then
so ironic.
you say ironic.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure. We was having this conversation anyway, and she was talking about being very strong-willed, etc. And they're dating somebody that's older than them, but they feel like they're the more mature person in the relationship. Yeah,
They might very well be.
quite possibly. But then I just posed the question, like, two things. I asked the person. I said, number one, are you accountable? She said yes. Then I said, number two, are you forgiving?
Crazy.
I did ask one more question as well, which was, when was the last time you was wrong? Because I thought, like,
This in like that order, they're just like leading questions.
yeah. Because you know, some people like feel like they're never wrong, but that's I felt it was important to establish. Or it might have been the other way around, but it's just important to establish the fact that, do you think that you're ever wrong? are you accountable? Are you too forgiving? Right? So she said that she feels like she's too forgiving sometimes to the point where she feels like an idiot. Like, why am I being so accommodating? Why am I? But
am I your friend? Did we have this yeah, go on.
Why am I being so accommodating? Why am I being so forgiving to this person, right? And we kind of established, in relation to her anyway, that there are some elements of her childhood that ties into it. But on top of that, she feels like in a moment of conflict, sometimes she even apologizes when she's just to ease the situation.
Oh my God, I do that.
However, she said because she's so like apologizes in that sense, when she doesn't apologize, she knows for 100% that she's correct.
Yep.
So I think you can be too forgiving, but as long as you can establish the difference between I'm just doing it because it feels like the right thing to do, as opposed to when I know that I'm right, I'm not going to do this. I think as long as you can keep that healthy balance, then I won't look at you as too forgiving.
Because sometimes you might really, really think you're right and you're not, you know?
100%.
Like there's a change in perspective. So I think it's kind of knowing what to apologize for. Like you can be on your opinion and your point of view and apologize for speaking strongly, you know? Like I kind of had to do that the other day. I was just like, because I felt for me, I'm really similar to your friend in that regard. Like I feel like over the years I've been so forgiving and so accommodating, and that comes from having a lot of perspective. Like when someone is saying something to me, I can see it. Like I can really understand where they're coming from and have a lot of compassion and sympathy. But that then lent into wanting to not necessarily fix things for someone, but be really patient on their journey instead of looking at how things are affecting me or what's fair for me, and that what they're going through is actually just really not any of my business, you know? It's just the facts that I need to look at is, can this person do what I need them to do or not? And are they willing to do that or not? And I think for me, being really forgiving came from wanting to hold on to an attachment. Yeah. So kind of letting things slide, or being months later in like a different and better space and you've kind of just forgotten things. And again, wanting to be attached to that person and not lose that. And I think being too forgiving comes from having a resistance or fear to being able to walk away.
Do you think that, well, obviously it does, like it ties into, you know, like some women don't leave relationships because even though they know it's not serving them, the thought of having to walk away is
debilitating.
Yeah, so they're more forgiving than they should be. Exactly.
Or you might be used to like waiting for someone to change, and that can stem from childhood. Like, you know, if you have a certain parent who's just the same way all the time, you're just waiting and hoping that they'll be different because they just keep promising those things, and you carry that forward into relationships. And you have to stop playing the waiting game and understand that your ability to understand isn't to be more accommodating, it's for you to have peace, so that when you walk away, you know that it wasn't you doing anything wrong or you being the problem. So coming back to like what I was saying initially, I did that the other day. Like I felt really disrespected by something, and I was like, you know what? It's my season to be angry. Actually, like it's my angry season. I suppress it. I don't really express it. I don't.
Whole season.
Huh?
A whole season.
A lifetime.
Okay.
It's my angry season. Like it's been stored and stocked up. But also, it's not just that. It's like I do that. Like I don't allow myself to get angry or express it properly, and then it comes out in other ways, because I'm constantly being accountable in a way that's damaging, in a way that I'm just like, I always think I'm in the wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Or open to that. Yeah. So now I was like, it doesn't matter who's wrong or right. It's just about how I feel. And if in this moment I don't feel good and I feel disrespected and something feels unfair, that's enough. Like that's all you need. And if that person wants to offer more understanding, they can. And I said that when I was speaking to them, I was like, I'm coming across really strongly and harshly because I feel disrespected. So I'm sorry for that in terms of like tone and energy. But this is how I feel. So yeah, I think it's important not to be too forgiving.
What's your barrier between being forgiving and too forgiving? Like, what makes the defining difference for you?
So moving forward, what I'm doing is I'm not digging anymore, like for answers or speculating too much. I'm not trying to understand more than that person is willing to let me understand. And my forgiveness now is to know that it's got nothing to do with me. And when you're digging, you feel like it's got something to do with you and that you can change things.
So I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. So
me too. Let me draw it out a bit more, because I feel like being forgiving is not holding a grudge, you know, like you're allowing yourself to not carry this with you anymore, to understand why someone's done something and move forward, and to leave them where they're at because they have done that thing and a line has been crossed. Being too forgiving is taking their whole story and making that excuse for them to behave a certain way, and you also still being that same certain way, like you haven't, like nothing's changed or amended, you know.
So for instance, let's just throw a scenario out there just to make it even more tangible. A friend of yours, you find out a friend of yours has stolen something from you, right? You find out that they didn't realize that it was yours that they stole. Let's just say, for instance, yeah? They stole something, they didn't realize it was yours, but they stole it anyway, yeah?
Did they give it back?
No.
When they realized?
It's gone. They stole it and it's gone. For whatever reason, it's gone. Let's say they stole it and sold it. Yeah?
They need to give me some of that money then.
Wait. They stole something and they sold it, right? Cool. They've given you the reason why they stole it, being that they fell on hard times and they just needed a quick cash influx, right? Can you forgive that, first of all? And if you do forgive that, because I don't want to delve into the actual act of you forgiving, but let's say you do forgive that, right? Is being too forgiving now, based on what you're saying, diving deeper into that story of how they've fallen on hard times and the things that they're going through, and you almost personalizing that, and then making that a part of your problem and being like, oh, don't worry,
let me help you.
Yeah,
I got a couple other things you could sell. Yeah, I would 100% do that in the past.
That's where you cross the line from forgiving to too forgiving, right?
Or even like sidestepping that bit in a way, it's like you continue being exactly the same with them, like, you know, they've been in your house and stolen something and you still bring them in your space in exactly the same way. That is too forgiving. I fully don't believe in that whole thing anymore of giving someone the shirt off your own back. Why are you doing that? Like, what's the point? Because one, you're enabling that person, you know, you're not giving them the opportunity to learn what they need to learn, you know. And there's other ways to help. You can like help in a different way. So to come back to your question, I would forgive that.
Yeah.
Because we've all fallen on hard times, and I just know that when you're in that space, your mind is different.
Yeah.
And the nuance for me is that they didn't actually steal from me. They thought it was someone else's.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a thing to me. So yeah, but I definitely wouldn't let them back in my house again.
Stealing from your house is crazy because there's going to be somebody in the house. So
well, where would they steal it from? That's the key part.
Maybe take away the fact that they stole from you. They stole something in your presence and you both got caught up in the situation because of it. Let's say. That might have been a better example. They stole something while they was with you. You got caught up in it. They're like, oh, I'm sorry for bringing you into this.
Yeah, you know what? Too forgiving is exactly what I would do, which is just be in it with them.
Yeah.
Just be in it with them and be like, oh my God, you're going through this, so we're going through this. And not even in a physical, like actually saying that. That's just the energy, like this idea of loyalty. Now, you know, someone said to me the other day, they were like, if you have a bowl of fruit and you have like 6 apples that are just juicy and ripe and really good, and then you have 1 rotten apple, those 6 apples will not make that apple more ripe if it's rotten, you know, like. And then I said, energy will either infect you or inspire you. So do you want to be inspired or do you want to be infected? And you just have to look at it that way. Maybe I'm jaded, I don't know. It is my angry season.
No, it's true. They do say a rotten fruit spoils the bunch.
It does. It does. Like, you can't go through someone's problems with them, even though it's not your problem. You know, it's like, say, for instance, if you're dating and someone's got a little bit more baggage from the past and you also have baggage, but you've worked your way through it, you can be in a more open space or more emotionally open or mature or able to be vulnerable, and they can't do that. You can't be a doormat and super nice and sweet in hoping that they will trust you. They've got to go on their own journey of opening their own heart and being vulnerable. You just got to leave that if that's how they're going to be.
Well, say something like that in a relationship. Somebody is doing something that you don't agree with, but it's based on their past experiences or their past experiences, and obviously they brought it into this relationship. This incident's happened. Obviously you're not happy about it. They apologize. You forgive them for that. Where does it cross to being too forgiving in that situation? When it's a personality experience. It's
what's important. What your values are in that moment is what needs to show up. So if something has happened and they're reacting from something, and that reaction wasn't like crazy, you know, like toxic and abusive, first of all, because
they shouted you out the house.
What? No. But that is something I would have forgiven. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just like, you can't. Well, obviously not shouting me out the house, but on the phone or something. You just can't be too forgiving and like slide over these things. And okay, so if it was not something that extreme, then I would, if they're able to have a vulnerable, open, real conversation about that, like as you said, you know, they understand, because sometimes in the moment you're just reacting, whatever. But if they can think back and reflect and think, oh yeah, like this is coming from that, and so it did this, so in future I'm gonna do this differently, then that's something I can 100% forgive, because you're on this journey together, and when you're with someone, that's when everything does come up to the surface. So for me, I'm kind of seeing that as working together, because when my things come up, I would want someone to do that for me. But if someone's just reacting left, right and center and not reflecting and talking about it and just closing down, what can you do with that?
Help them through it.
How? But if they just distance themselves and think about it on their own and blah blah blah, and they don't really communicate with you, and you're left in the dark, and then they come back and they're feeling, you're just in a cycle and a loop. You gotta give people room to step up or step out.
But that again, I guess you're right. That's the line between being too forgiving. Yeah,
because honestly, you're just hurting yourself. And in the last 3 weeks, I was like, I am literally a mug, and people are talking to me like that, because people from my past got back in touch and stuff like that, and the way that they were still moving was like that old version of me, and something in me snapped, and I was just like, who do you think you are, and who do you think you're talking to? And the way that they were being towards me made me feel so insulted, because I was like, who do you think you are talking to? Like, who was I, you know, and who do I need to be right now? Because you got to just put lines there and let people leave and be sad for however long you need to be, not too long, and then just keep it stepping, because you just cannot Like, what are you forgiving people for? And you know what's crazy about that? Like, and I'm sure your friend can agree, you'll be so forgiving to other people, so accommodating, so understanding of their traumas, and you won't even have like 2% of that forgiveness for yourself.
That's what I said, so the same way you're super forgiving for other people, are you that way to yourself?
Nope.
And her response was, no, I'm super hard on myself.
Right.
Which is crazy to me.
It's crazy.
It's mad.
It's
but
so mad.
I don't know. Like for me.
And that's why you're so forgiving to, sorry to cut across you, but that's why you're so forgiving to other people, because you're just like, oh my God, I did it again. I was so mean.
Yeah.
No, you weren't. You just had your feelings and you're allowed to have them.
Yeah. I don't know. It's yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, for me, I just think the major difference for me is like forgiving someone shouldn't affect you, whether that's mentally, physically, financially, whatever. It shouldn't affect you. Over forgiving or being too forgiving is when it starts to impact you personally.
That is so true.
And that's to me, that's the key difference between the two.
If you spoke first, we would be like 10 minutes of this pod would be gone. Because that is exactly it. That's concise. Like when you're forgiving someone, it doesn't do anything to you, you know, like you just see what's going on and you move forward, and there's no need to like bad mouth anyone or do anything. You've just seen where they're at and forgiven it, but removed yourself.
Yeah.
And if something's still affecting you, then you are too over forgiving.
Literally. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree on that.
And you'll gaslight yourself so much. You'll just think like, oh, am I putting up too many walls? Am I like being too whatever? And you have to say to yourself as well, like, if I did make a mistake in this, if I did overreact, if I did do something, then I'll learn it.
Yeah.
Because I care about learning and, you know, improving. So if I did make a mistake, it's okay.
Mistakes are okay.
Yeah, they are okay. But the biggest mistake is
not learning from your mistakes.
All right, the second biggest mistake. The second biggest mistake is allowing it to happen over and over again. Is not like basically what you said. Yeah. All right, fine. Yeah, that is the biggest mistake.
Verbatim.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's interesting though.
You have to give all your feelings room. You really, really do, because if anger is not going outwards, it's going inwards. And that's, I'm realizing now, probably why people like that, like me, are so hard on ourselves, because our anger's got to go somewhere.
Very true. I think it ties into something that I wanted to mention. And that's like, do you think there's such thing as overthinking?
Do I?
I mean, no, obviously there is a thing as overthinking, but like, especially in situations like this, or not so much decision making, because I think that's pretty straightforward, right? Like you can overthink a decision sometimes.
Yeah.
But in things that you're trying to work out an answer, or you're trying to work out your next move or your action, how do you think about overthinking? Like, where's the line between thinking it through and overthinking? So similar to what's the line between forgiving and forgiveness?
Yeah, so I've actually thought about this a lot. And overthinking is just a disease, because
wow, that's strong, but going heavy. Go on.
It is, because so thinking is when you think about how you feel, what you want to do, and what's the first step you're going to take for what you want to do. Overthinking is where you're thinking about every possible outcome. And I just don't try my best not to overthink anymore. And overthinking is also like reading into what someone's doing and looking at things instead of asking. And overthinking is definitely my state of thinking that I haven't come out of yet as much as I'd like to. And it is a disease. Yeah.
No, do you know why that's interesting and why the two kind of go hand in hand, right? I know two people, there was a big incident, like somebody was very disrespectful about us, like towards this person, yeah? They've apologized, and the reason for the disrespect was like their mind frame at that time was not correct. They had a bad day, they just had some bad news, whatever, so they were just lashing out, right?
Okay.
The person affected was like, I can't forgive the way you spoke to me. That was their mentality. Eventually, they've got around to saying, all right, cool, I'll move past it. However, now everything that the said person does, the second person looks into it like, did you mean it in this way? But based off that one interaction where...
Wait, what do you mean? So the person who's...
So the person that feels disrespected by the... So the person that had the... Outburst. Every time that they say anything which can be deemed wayward or condescending or anything, the person that was affected by the outburst is now looking into it even more. Like, when you said da-da-da-da-da, did you, like, what was that about? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's this level of overthinking and trying to read everything that this person says.
It's so hard, man. I really relate to them. I'm relating to all your friends today. I really feel like it's talking about me.
You're living vicariously through these people.
Honestly, living their lives, basically. Because it is hard. Like, you do read into everything, and it is like a self-preservation thing. Like, you're trying to protect yourself by trying to think like, okay, what do you really mean, or what was meant by that, or this, that, and the other. And especially when you're speaking to people who the ground is shaky now and you don't entirely know where they stand. But
they've apologized and they've explained to you that it was just a moment of madness. I had an outburst, but because this person's, it's like this person's been struck basically, and they can't take that hit back.
It's like when you put squash in water and the whole thing changes and you can't take it back out.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I relate
even if it
to
tastes
that.
nice.
It tastes delicious. It's amazing. But you can't change it.
You can never
can't
go
go
back to the two.
Yeah.
So it's again, my thing is the difference between thinking something through and overthinking is logic and emotion. If you take away the emotion side, I feel like overthinking is when the emotion's involved.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're thinking of every possible outcome. You're overthinking. You're overlooking.
What if she
into
does this? What if he says that? What if I say this and then this happens?
Yes.
Sometimes you just gotta find out. You just gotta fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
You just gotta see what happens.
Yeah, no, very
and
true.
try to remember that event if it goes badly for next time. But it's hard for me. I definitely have like an overthinking problem, and it comes from trust.
Is it? Do you think it's trust?
Definitely, because you don't trust that what people are saying to you is true, or that it won't change, you know.
So I wanted to read this. There was 2 things that I saw on overthinking that I thought was very interesting. First quote was this, yeah. It says overthinking prevents progress and kills happiness. Yeah,
it's a disease. I told you, it's actually a disease.
But it goes on to say, put the overthinking to bed with an average of 60,000 to 80,000 daily thoughts. Remember, you don't need to engage with every single one. Breathe, relax, let it pass.
Can you send that to me?
I can do.
That's really helpful.
And the other one was, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you're not overthinking because you're indecisive. You're overthinking because you're afraid of judgment, because you're paralyzed by past failures, because you're overwhelmed by expectations, because you're consumed by self-doubt, because you're burdened by the fear of making a mistake. Was that the last one? Yeah.
Send that to me as well, please.
And I found that interesting because
wow, I'm stunned.
It's very interesting. And then somebody did respond to that saying, like, when people say you're overthinking this, they're like, I don't have any other type of thinking available. Like, that's the only way that I can process stuff. And I get that sometimes you have to eliminate possibilities to get clarity sometimes. Have you never been in that situation? Like, I've been there where some might deem it as overthinking, but I've literally looked at every possible outcome, and it's a calculated risk almost. Like, every possible outcome, and by eliminating potential outcomes, it's given me clarity.
Yeah. You know what? That actually reminds me of something someone said, and they're a therapist. My therapist said this to me. So they, huh? You. Who do you think you are today?
I don't know. You want to be the person in my story, so I wanted to be the one in yours.
So I'm the troubled friend, and you're the therapist. Okay, great dynamic. Love that for us. But yeah, my therapist said that when you are overthinking, and that last thing that you just read, I feel really called out.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what it is. And I just never really looked at it like that before. Like the overthinking, you think you're thinking, but it's coming from all these different fears in different ways. So really what you're running through consistently are worries.
Yeah.
So my therapist said that whenever you have a worry, you can either have a hypothetical worry or a practical worry. Now, a practical worry is something like a family member's in hospital and I'm worried about the kind of care they're getting. That's a practical worry because there's things you can do about that to ease your worry. A hypothetical worry is I'm worried that my family member's in hospital or someone I care about and that they're not getting the right care. So what if this happens, or what if that happens, or this, that, and the other? A hypothetical worry usually starts with what if, and with that worry, there is nothing you can do about that. So you just have to put it to the side.
It's down to chance.
Yeah, down to chance. So you just got to roll the dice on that one.
Yeah.
When I'm doing things well, what I do with my hypothetical worries is I'll sit down, set a timer for 20 minutes, and within 10, I'm normally good. I won't really need to use the whole 20, and I'll just worry.
Yeah.
I'll write down all my worries exactly as they are in my head, and I'll just write it out and write it out and write it out. And you get it out of your head on paper or on your notes on your phone or whatever. And you'll find, for me anyway, as I'm writing it, they hold less weight for me, and I'm already thinking of solutions and things to say back to myself, and those things can be extracting what the practical things are that I can do about this. It could be understanding where that worry is coming from, and it's normally coming from that list you mentioned, and that frees you because you now immediately know that this is a worry that isn't rooted in reality.
Yeah.
Or you end up there's a really good third thing I was going to say with a hypothetical worry. You start anchoring yourself with certain things, you know, and you get out of that child voice in you that's stressed out and worried and tap into that adult voice to say, you know, that everything's going to be okay. Or when you were in a similar position, this happened and it was fine. Or say if you're worried about having a difficult conversation with someone and they reject you or abandon you, you can then tell yourself, it doesn't matter because I'm still here.
Yeah.
So it just cuts through the crap to get to the voice that you need to hear.
How do you think that applies to somebody that may like suffer with paranoia? Do you think it's that simple to just be like, yeah, exactly?
Well, it's funny you say that because I was going to say, if you're so used to overthinking, you actually don't know you're overthinking. You're just thinking. So that's why it is important to pay attention to your thoughts, because with each thought, that anxiety is just raising and you're paralyzed. You're not doing anything.
Literally.
But with what you said, someone with paranoia, you know, it's so hard to speak on that.
Yeah.
Because that is quite possibly in some cases a clinical thing. So for me, it's just a different ball game from everyday overthinking. It's not something
you can just speculate on.
Yeah, I don't know what, like when you're paranoid,
it's a bit more clinical. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's very fair. With overthinking, the thing that always strikes me is that, see, me now, I like to think a lot.
Me too.
And I've been at times worried, like, am I overthinking the situation? Yeah. And what I've realized is the stark difference between when I'm overthinking and thinking is that I'm not really being active when I'm overthinking. Like, You can't really move. You're stuck in a specific.
It's true. Paralyzed.
Even if you're just sitting down, you're stuck there. Whereas, like, let's say I'm in the gym and I'm on doing an incline walk, let's say, and I'm thinking through things. I don't class that as overthinking because I'm still active and I'm just seeking clarity in certain things.
I agree. Your body's moving. Like when I'm on a walk and I'm thinking, it's different.
Yeah, I think the action plays a big part. And it's crazy because you can have the same thoughts that you would have if you was just sitting down, but I feel like it comes to a natural resolution when your body's actually being active. It's almost like you're processing it a bit smoother than just sitting in one place, kicking back and just thinking, what if, or should I do this, or should I do that?
And then you try to distract yourself and then it comes back around.
But it's difficult to find the balance because that moment of reflection sometimes is so important. Like, I just don't know how to describe it.
No, it is. And that's the word. Like, reflection is different from overthinking. Because when I'm reflecting, I'm naming stuff, you know? When I'm overthinking, I'm like, oh my God, should I have said that? Now they've done this. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Blah, blah, blah. When I'm reflecting, I'm like, I'm hurt.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm angry. I feel upset because of this. And now I feel like I'll never get to do this with that person now, you know? That's different.
I guess so. It's just because, like, sometimes I'll say if I'm out on a drive going somewhere and I'm thinking things through, then I'll pull up outside my house.
And like, how did I get here?
There's that part, you're on autopilot, but it's like once I'm there, I might just chill in my car for a good 10-15 minutes, unwinding, processing everything that I thought about before I'm ready to get out of this car. And in those moments, sometimes I'm like, am I just overthinking stuff, or is that just a natural process?
No, I think that's good. That's like having a breather, you know, like you're leaving one space and moving into another. And I think it's really good to give yourself a pause in your energy before you move from one place to another. And to speak on what you said with, like, when you're thinking in the gym and when you're moving, that is a scientific thing. Like, when you're thinking so much, it's taking a lot of mental energy. When you're walking around at the same time, your energy isn't stuck. And I mean, not just energy, like adrenaline as a scientific thing, you know? So you're able to, like, process stuff a bit differently. Yeah. That's why everyone feels better after a shower or a cry or a walk, you know, or the gym, whatever the equivalents are, because you're moving stuff around inside you and it kind of moves out. Whereas when you're just sitting and overthinking, it's like shaking a ball. It's just crazy.
Yeah that makes a lot of sense though. I don't know, I think thoughts and how you process it is so interesting to me because I just don't know what's right and what's wrong, if that makes sense.
I don't think we're
case by case.
Yeah, I think we never know. And what is slowly helping me again from recent with my overthinking is trusting myself more. Like, instead of thinking, should I have done this? Should I have done that? Should I say this? I'm just saying stuff.
That's an excellent point. And that's what I lead on now is more so, especially with taking actions. Within myself, I know when something feels right and when something doesn't. So if it doesn't, just stop. If it does, or you don't have a feeling towards it, just go and see. Just go and see.
And you know, it's a shame, like, so many times your overthinking comes from, like, your fears, as you said. And that's just really hit the nail on the head with that second quote, because you're thinking about something new and comparing it to something that's happened. And you don't know how that thing's going to turn out. And you're stopping yourself to do it the right way. But there's only some things you learn the right way as you go along. And sometimes you'll do things the wrong way and it ends up being the right way because things ended up even better. So I don't know. I feel like it is a disease. Like, you just hold yourself back from living.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's so hard because you just don't want to make mistakes. And you don't want to feel like, I don't want to do or say the wrong thing and mess something up or self-sabotage or blah blah blah. But if you simplify it and you're just like, you can't just push the emotions to the side and go straight to logic. The two can't exist at the same time. And the bigger thing in that moment is the emotion. It's not the logic. So you can't get to logic when the emotions are there. So you have to look at the emotions and give them room. And I really had to do that these last 2 weeks. I was just like, I'm feeling emotional and I can't act on this because that doesn't feel like the right thing to do. I've already acted on it and it was right, and now these emotions have come up from that. So you have to like I said, name what's going on with you. And it made so much sense to me, not in that one moment. It was over the week, like a series of days, that more of myself became, like you said, that clarity came through, because you have to give those emotions space and understand where certain things are coming from. And it does get so much better.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
With overthinking as well, like you seek to feel good straight away. It's really hard to sit in any kind of discomfort. Sometimes it's easier to overthink than just sit in the real emotion of what you're feeling.
I agree. 100%.
But just be hurt. It's all right. Or whatever the emotion is.
Whatever the emotion is. Just,
scared, whatever.
Just live through it and take those steps, I would say.
Yeah.
Don't think out a situation too much.
You know what happens when you do it the first time or the first few times? It really gets, what was I going to say? Not like gets easier, but you start building confidence in yourself. That's actually what starts happening, because you're like actually doing stuff, learning from it, moving through it, or it is successful for you because you're like, you know what? I did what was right for me, and I've honored myself, and I've been authentic to that, and I feel good about myself. Even if I'm not happy about the outcome and I'm sad about it, I do feel good. So you start overthinking less because you're starting to see and learn that things are turning out okay.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. All right. Well, thanks again for your divine presence.
I love that so much. I'm not even angry at that. You're welcome. And thank you for your therapy. You love that.
I have. It's been an interesting episode.
Yeah, it has. I was going to say something, but
ignore me. Yeah, no, it's been an interesting episode. Do the work necessary. I would say take notes on some of the stuff we said today and apply it to your life where possible, where necessary. Let us know if you feel like there's more to either of the topics, really.
Or more you want us to
yeah.
And it's okay as well to take an action from this that isn't exactly what we said, and to do things your own way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We're not the experts of your life, you are.
Oh, love that.
That's alphawaves.
That's full circle. That's a whole,
Yeah. So thank you again, once again. Always love, always
light.
Always appreciate it. It's your host, Darren Kam, and until next time.
Until then. Who are you today?